Hello, wonderful listeners. A quick update for you. I have created a paid subscription for the podcast. For 99p a month, you can get an extra bonus episode per week and a monthly workshop episode where I go into a lot more depth, a lot more detail, and provide a lot more structure for your self-development. Now, whether you are a loyal long-term listener or just ready to go deeper on your self-development or just generally want to support the podcast, I would love to hear from you, and you can find the link for subscribing in the show notes. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Self-Improvement Project. I hope you are all well in the midst of December now, where particularly here it's getting quite chilly. We're getting frost and snow, which can be nice, apart from the obvious intensity of the cold. I was out on my bike yesterday and had to deal with that level of coldness. So I hope you are well. I hope you are feeling reflective at this time of year. I feel the topics around this time of year on the podcast tend to be pretty reflective, and I want you to view this end of year as an opportunity for change, an opportunity for things that you can try moving forward, and also just the opportunity for the small things. The small things that maybe excite you, that you want to try, that 2022 or this year has gotten away from you a little bit. And the end of the year is always a good time to reset. I also want you to view this as a time of looking back, reflecting, and having some pride on the things that you've achieved this year. We never take enough time to recognize what you've achieved through a cumulative effort. And even if you feel like this year has been pretty ordinary with your job, with your studies, with your relationships, there's an element of pride that comes with maintaining those things at a high level. Or not even a high level, a consistent level. It's so underrated. So look back with pride, look forward with opportunity. Today's episode is called One Step Forward. You can interpret that title as however you like. But I want to emphasize the significance of effort, the significance of small actions, and the significance of, even though we maybe view it as a negative, you are still moving forward. The theme behind this is about life happening. Life happens to us regardless of our age, regardless of our stage in life, regardless of what we've achieved so far. Life happens. This may have negative connotations to an extent, but I want you to be aware of it happening to everyone. Another point is that we always feel obliged to assign reason to things happening. For instance, when something positive happens in our life, it's down to luck. It's maybe not attributing things to our own efforts. But then when something negative happens, it's our fault. It's our fault for not trying hard enough. It's our fault for not doing enough towards these things. And there's an element of it being quite mixed. When negative things happen, sometimes it is down to luck. When positive things happen, it's sometimes down to luck. When positive things happen, we can give ourselves credit for the work that we've done towards it. When negative things happen, we can look introspectively at what we could have done more of, and that's absolutely fine. However, we become biased within ourselves that we don't give ourselves enough credit. And this attitude, this self-fulfilling attitude, can sometimes lead to self-loathing in other elements of our life. The scenarios of, only if I had worked harder beforehand, I would be where I want to be now. And we can talk about the happiness that would bring, but maybe that's for another time, or maybe from a previous episode. But like I said at the start, the reality of this is it happens to everyone, and nobody lives a completely perfect life. But those that live a better life than others are ones that put those small steps together and view, even though it maybe feels like you're on a treadmill, you are moving forward. Whether that's learning from a previous experience, whether that's trying something new, you're still moving forward. I also believe that we don't think critically enough about things when they happen. What is happening to you right now that is making you feel negative? And why is it happening? Think of all of the factors. When you were listening to that there and thinking of your own scenario, you probably instinctively went to yourself. If it was negative, you thought, oh, it's my fault. We convince ourselves of that. And this is not where we look at the factors. You can think critically about those factors. Lots of things happening. Even the time of year, it's maybe Christmas and things are slowing down. That could be a factor to maybe towards your job, or maybe an application to a job, or maybe something to do with your studies. But it's all about thinking about how life just happens. We need to take that broader perspective, that wider lens, to look at this is just happening. Life is just happening to you just now. We have a desire to, like I say, attribute reason to it. But by taking this wider lens, we think, what's the lesson here? What is this moment in life that I am going through right now that I can learn about? Not just learn from, learn about. This is where the wisdom of people who are older really comes into play. I always tend to find that they're so relaxed about all these things that have happened, but when they were in that moment, they were very stressed and uptight about it. I wonder why that is. Like I say, that wider lens gives us a bit of perspective of the lessons. Life happens to everyone. What are the lessons from it? I like to think of this as a bit of a path, perhaps. Let's view life right now for you as a normal path, a straightforward path. Now, sometimes when we walk along a path for the first time, we're unsure, we're maybe a bit cautious, and sometimes we take a wrong turn. We can continue down that path and maybe get back onto the path that we wanted to later on, or we can turn back and go in a different direction. Sometimes when we're on a path and we've been on it for a while, we sometimes need a break. Maybe we need to stop and take in the views. Or maybe this is a path that we've walked before, so we can go a bit quicker and we can be more confident about how we're going to be on that path. Hopefully that metaphor gives you a bit of perspective around life happening. Imagine everyone on the world is on these paths. You might meet other people on the path. You might be able to get their perspective on those lessons that you're looking at. And I always like to think when there's this perspective of life happening to us, having a mixture of positive and negative things happening, all these factors that could be contributing to it, but also the lessons that come from it. I always like to think, what is indirectly being taught? What are we being taught indirectly through life? Are we supposed to go off the beaten path sometimes? Is that a lesson that we need to go down to improve our mindset, or to find a job that we love, or to meet the people that we're supposed to be with? Are we supposed to be on this path that we've been on before to elevate maybe a field that you're working in? Are you supposed to be that person at the forefront and groundbreaking within it? Some questions I like to think of when we have this perspective as well is, do I need to take more control? Am I taking enough risk? Am I doing what is true to me? Am I avoiding discomfort? These are those big questions that we can then filter down. But despite you asking these questions and maybe coming up with some pretty comprehensive answers, life is still going to happen. It's how we perceive what is happening that allows us to enjoy it potentially a bit more. Overall, the message that I would give yourself if you're maybe going through these times and you have that instinctive self-loathing is to go easy on yourself. Life happens and it always will happen. That will never change. But if you go easier on yourself and enjoy this path a little bit more, then hopefully you'll see the lessons, direct or indirectly, that life is trying to teach you. And that's us today. I hope you've enjoyed that. Write to me with any thoughts. I would love to hear your experiences or just general thoughts on that, regardless. But otherwise, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you all next time. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed that episode today. Thank you very much for listening. A quick check-in from me before we go today. In January 2023, I am going to be running a starting fresh coaching program. It's a group coaching program. It's going to be a mixture of live 1-hour calls as well as some self-led tasks, audio, videos that you can use throughout January to start your self-development. Whether you just need that little bit of a boost, that little bit of a fresh perspective going into the new year, I'm creating something for you guys to start in January this year. So I will add the link for this in the show notes. As always, message me if you feel like it's something you want to know more about. Otherwise, thanks again for listening, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.